Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiri Nashtipraisha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhaktasena Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. So continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10. Today we are starting new chapter, chapter 34. Nanda Maharaj saved and Shankachoda slain. Text number 1 onwards. Shri Shukuvacha Ekada Deva Yatrayam Gopala Jatakotuka Anobher Anna Dudyukta Parayuyuste Ambikavanam. Shukdev Goswami said, one day the cowherd man, eager to take a trip to worship Lord Shiva, traveled by bullock carts to the Ambika forest, Ambika Van. According to Srila Jiva Goswami, the word Ekada here indicates the occasion of Shivratri. He further mentions that Ambika Van is in Gujarat province near the city of Siddhapur. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur adds that the departure of the cowherd men specifically took place on the 14th lunar day of the dark fortnight of the month of Falgun. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti also quotes authorities who claim that Ambikavan lies on the bank of the Saraswati River northeast of Mathura. Ambikavan is notable because within it are deities of Sri Shiva and his wife, goddess Uma. So, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says Ambikavan is near Mathura, but Jiva Goswami says it's in Gujarat. I don't know, wherever it is. But the shloka says Ekada. So one, it happened. So it's not like every year Nand Baba used to go. It just happened once. One year they decided to go. On Shivratri, they wanted to take darshan of Lord Shiva there in Ambikavan and worship him. Tatra snatva saraswatyam devam pashupatim vibhum anar churharana bhaktya devim charanapate ambikam. O king, after arriving there, they bathed in the Saraswati and then devotedly worshipped with various paraphernalia the powerful Lord Pashupati and his consort, goddess Ambika. Gavo hiranyam vasansi madhu madannam madrita brahmane bhyo dadu sarve devo nah priyatamiti. The cowherd men gave the Brahmins gifts of cows, gold, clothing, and cooked grains mixed with honey. Then the cowherds prayed, "May the Lord be pleased with us." So this is a normal thing when we go to holy place. First is take bath, and also some people also get their head shaved, like those who go to Tirupati. It's a general tradition. And then give charity. Charity donation is very important. Oshu Saraswati Tire Jalam Prasya Yatukataha Rajanim Tam Mahabhaga Nanda Sunna Nanda Kadaya. Nanda Sunanda and other greatly fortunate cowherds spent that night on the bank of Saraswati, strictly observing their vows. They fasted, taking only water. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that Sunanda is a younger brother of Nanda Maharaj. Kashin Mahan Histasmin Vipine Ati Bubhukshita Yadrichya Nandam Shyanam Urgo Agrasvit. During the night, a huge and extremely hungry snake appeared in that thicket. Slithering on his belly up to the sleeping Nand Maharaj, the snake began swallowing him. So it was a python. They swallow humans or animals also. Sachukroshahi nagrasta Krishna Krishna Mahanayam Sarpo Mam Grasate Tata Prapannam Parimochaya. In the clutches of the snake, Nanda Maharaj cried out, Krishna, Krishna, my dear boy, this huge serpent is swallowing me. Please save me, who am surrendered to you. Tasya chakranditam shrutva gopahala sahasothita grastam ja drishtva vibhranta sarpam vivyadhur ulmuke. When the cowherd men heard the cries of Nanda, they immediately rose up and saw that he was being swallowed. Distraught, they beat the serpent with blazing torches. So they had the blazing torches all around for light and heat also. So they just picked up those torches and they started beating up the snake. Alater daye mano api namunchataram tam orangamaha tam sprishat padabhyetya bhagwan satatam patihi. But even though the firebrands were burning him, the serpent would not release Nanda Maharaj. Then the Supreme Lord Krishna, master of his devotees, came to the spot and touched the snake with his foot. Savai Bhagavata Shrimat Padasparsha Hatashubha Bheje Sarpa Vapurhitva Rupam Vidyadhararchitam. The snake had all his sinful reactions destroyed by the touch of the Supreme Lord's divine foot. And thus he gave up his serpent body and appeared in the form of a worshipable Vidyadhar. The word Sarupam Vidyadhara Architam indicates that the erstwhile snake appeared in a beautiful form, worshipable among the demigods called Vidyadhars. In other words, he appeared as the leader of the Vidyadhars. Tam Prichad Dhrishikeshaha Pranatam Samavasthitam Dipyamanena Vapusha Purusham Hema Malinam. The Supreme Lord Rishikesha then questioned this personality, who was standing before him with his head bowed, his brilliantly effulgent body bedecked with golden necklaces. The demigod was about to speak, and Lord Krishna wanted to focus everyone's attention on his words. Therefore, he personally inquired from the worshipable Vidyadhar, who was standing before him with his head bowed. Ko bhavan paraya lakshmiya rochate adbhuta darshana katham jagupsitam etam gatim va prapito avashaha. Lord Krishna said, my dear sir, you appear so wonderful, glowing with such great beauty. Who are you? And who forced you to assume this terrible body of a snake? Sarpavacha aham vidyadhara kaschit sudarshan iti shruta shriya swarupa sampatya vyamena charandisha rishin virupangira saha prahasam sarupa darpita tarimam prapito yonim pralabdha sven papmana. The serpent replied, I am the well-known Vidyadhar named Sudarshan. I was very opulent and beautiful, and I used to wander freely in all directions in my airplane. Once I saw some homely sages of the lineage of Angira Muni. Proud of my beauty, I ridiculed them, and because of my sin, they made me assume this lowly form. See, everywhere, every demon that we have read of, just somehow or other ended up offending some devotee, some sage, and they get cursed. But because of they're falling down and begging for mercy from the sage, then they get the curse. Curse cannot be reversed, but they said, okay, Krishna will release you from this curse, and then you'll get liberated. So here also, Vidyadhar, he offended Angira Muni and the other sages, in the other sages in the lineage of Angira Muni, and he got cursed. Shapo me anugrahaya kritaste karunatma bhi yad aham lok guruna padasprishto hatashubha. It was actually for my benefit that those merciful sages cursed me, since now I have been touched by the foot of the Supreme Spiritual Master of all the worlds and have thus been relieved of all inauspiciousness. Tam tvaham bhavabhitanam prapannam Bhayapaham apracheshap nirmukta padasparshardam ivahan. My Lord, you destroy all fear for those who fearing this material world take shelter of you. By the touch of your feet, I am now freed from the curse of the sages. O destroyer of the distressed, please let me return to my planet. According to the Acharyas, the word apriche indicates that Sudarshan humbly requested the Lord for permission to return to his abode where he might take up his duties again, certainly in a chastened or purified state of mind. Prapanno asmi mahayogin mahapurusha satpate anujanihi mam deva sarva lokeshwareshwara. O Master of mystic power, O great personality, O Lord of the devotees, I surrender to you. Please command me as you will, O Supreme God, O Lord of all lords of the universe. Brahma dandad vimukto aham sadhyaste achyut darshanat yannam grihan akhilan shrotri natman manevacha sadhya punati kim bhuyas tasya sprishta padahite. O infallible one, I was immediately freed from the Brahman's punishment simply by seeing you. Anyone who chants your name purifies all who hear his chanting as well as himself. How much more beneficial than is a touch of your lotus feet? So here Vidyadhar is saying, anyone who chants your name purifies all who hears his chanting as well as himself. That's why chanting is so important, so powerful. Iti anugyapya dasharham parikramyabhivandya cha sudarshano divamiyata krichranandascha mochitaha. Shukdev Goswami continued, thus receiving the permission of Lord Krishna, the demigod Sudarshan circumambulated him, bowed down to offer him homage, and then returned to his heavenly planet. Nanda Maharaj was thus delivered from peril. So, look at Nanda Maharaj, he was saved from Varuna. Krishna personally went there to save him. Now he saved him from this python who was actually a demigod, Vidyadhar, Sudarshan, named Sudarshan. So they all must be thinking, who is this Krishna? But then they remember, okay, Garga Muni said, he is equal to Narayan. Garga Muni didn't say he's Narayan himself, because that would have hindered his pastimes. But wonderful pastime they are observing. Nishame Krishnasya dadatma vaibhavam rajo kaso vismita chetas tataha samapya tasmin niyamam punarvrajam nipaya yusta kathyanta adritaha. The inhabitants of Vraja were astonished to see the mighty power of Sri Krishna. Dear king, they then completed their worship of Lord Shiva and returned to Vraja. Along the way, respectfully describing Krishna's powerful acts. And here they went to Ambikavan to pray to Lord Shiva. But Krishna is himself with them. They didn't need to. And Krishna and Balram also went with Nanda Baba and all the other Gopas. So that's when people start asking questions. So was Krishna, when did Krishna go there to worship Lord Shiva? Well, there's no mention here, but as a matter of etiquette, he might have. But he doesn't need to worship Lord Shiva. Look at position of Krishna, Vidyadhar, Varun Dev, everybody, Brahmaji, Indra, everybody is worshipping Krishna, praying to Krishna. So he is the supreme, that's for sure. Kadachitha Govindo Ramaschadbhut Vikramaha Vijahar Turvane Ratriyam Madhya Go Vrajayoshitam. So now another pastime starts. Once Lord Govinda and Lord Ram, or Balram, the performer of wonderful feats, were playing in the forest at night with the young girls of Vraja. This verse introduces a new pastime. According to the Acharyas, the occasion mentioned here is the Holika Purnima, a day also known as Gaur Purnima. So every Purnima, they have this Ras Leela going on. And Krishna and Ram, they were in different groups. So they both have their own sets of gopis. Upagiya mano lalitam stri janer baddha sohrite swalankratano liptango srag vino virajom. Krishna and Balram wore flower garlands and spotless garments, and their limbs were beautifully decorated and anointed. The women sang their glories in a charming way, bound to them by affection. Nishamukham manyantava udito dupatarakam mallika gandha mattale jushtam kumud vayuna. The two lords praised the nightfall, signaled by the rising of the moon and the appearance of stars. A lotus-scented breeze and bees intoxicated by the fragrance of jasmine flowers. So beautiful, beautiful atmosphere. Jagatu sarva bhutana mana shravana mangalam tau kalpayanto yugapat swara mandala murchitam. Krishna and Balram sang, producing the entire range of musical sounds simultaneously. Their singing brought happiness to the ears and minds of all living beings. Gopyastad geetam akarnya murchita navidat nripa sansrat sad ukulam atmanam srasta kesha srajam tataha. The gopis became stunned when they heard that song. Forgetting themselves of king, they did not notice that the fine garments were becoming loose and their hair and garlands disheveled. We can only imagine the singing of Krishna and Balaram, just completely different. Evam vikridito swaram gayato sampramatvat shankachud iti khyato dhanad anucharo abhyagat. While Lord Krishna and Lord Balram thus played according to their own sweet will and sang to the point of apparent intoxication, a servant of Kuvera named Shankachud came upon the scene. Tayor nirikshito rajan stannatham pramadajanam kroshantam kale amasa dishi uddichyam ashankita. O king, even as the two lords looked on, Shankchuda brazenly began driving the women off towards the north. The women who had accepted Krishna and Balram as their lords began to cry out to them. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, the demon Shankchuda shook a large stick at the beautiful young girls. So that you can see in my background. So he's holding a stick and then he's guiding all these gopis, thus frightening them and driving them towards the north. He did not actually touch them, as is corroborated by the following verse. So Shankchuda was a servant of Kubera. So Kubera, being the treasurer of the demigods, obviously is very powerful, very rich. So earlier his two sons, Nalkuvar and Manigriv, they misbehaved and Narayana cursed them. Now the servant also misbehaved, and he directly misbehaved in front of Krishna and Balram. Krishna and Balram had their own set of gopis, and Shankchuda came there and he was driving away all the gopis. Why? Because when somebody becomes rich and powerful, so that's the first thing they want to do. They think that they are the enjoyers, and especially all the beautiful girls should be or have to be enjoyed by them only, because they have the money, they have the power. This is demoniac mentality. And Look at his audacity. He is taking girls away from Krishna and Balram. This is audacity. And really, really demonic. Kroshantam Krishna Rameti Vilokyasva Parigraham Yathaga Dasina Grasta Bhratriva Vanvadhavatam. Hearing the devotees crying out Krishna, Ram, and seeing that they were just like cows being stolen by a thief, Krishna and Balram began to run after the demon. Ma bhashtetya bhayaravo shalahasto tarasvino ase dustam tarasa tvaritam guyakadhamam. The lords, both Krishna and Balram, called out in reply, "Do not fear." Then they picked up logs of the shal tree and quickly pursued the lowest of Guyaks, or this Shankachuda, who swiftly ran away. Because once he saw Krishna Balram coming with the log of the tree, and he just got scared and ran away, left all the gopis behind. Saviksha tavanu prapto kalam mrityu ivodvijan vishrajya srijana mudha pradri vajjivite chaya. When Shankchoda saw the two of them coming toward him like the personified forces of time and death, he was filled with anxiety. Confused, he abandoned the women and fled for his life. Tamanvadhavat Govindo yatra yatra sadhavati jihir shusta tachiroratnam tasto rakshan striyo balaha. Lord Govinda chased a demon wherever he ran, eager to take his crest jewel. So he, Shankachuda, so he had a beautiful jewel on his forehead in the form of conch shell. Meanwhile, Lord Balram stayed with the women to protect them. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that the women were fatigued from being driven away, and thus Lord Balram protected them and consoled them as they rested. Meanwhile, Lord Krishna went after the demon. So it was Krishna who told Balramji, "Okay, you stay here. I'll go after this man," and he wanted his jewel. Because Balramji is elder brother, Krishna said, "Let me serve him. I don't want him to go after the demon because I can kill him. I can take care of him." Avidur ivabhyetya shiras tasya duratmana jahara mushti nevanga sahachuda manim vibhu. The mighty Lord overtook Shankachuda from a great distance as if from nearby, "My dear king." And then with his fist, the Lord removed the wicked demon's head together with his crest jewel. Shankachudam nihatyavam manimadaya bhasvaram agrajaya adatritya pashyanti nam cha yoshitam. Having thus killed the demon Shankachuda and taken away his shining jewel, Lord Krishna gave it to his elder brother with great satisfaction as the gopis watched. Various gopis perhaps thought that Govinda would give one of them the valuable jewel. To prevent rivalry among them, Shri Krishna happily gave the jewel to his older brother, Balaram. So now the gopis are thinking, "Oh, Krishna got such a beautiful jewel, so he will give it to me," and the other ones thinking he will give it to me. But Krishna said, "No, this will unnecessarily create problems." So he just gave it to Balramji. Balramji being the elder brother, nobody said anything. And what did Balramji do? It's not mentioned here. It's mentioned in other books. He gave it to Srimati Radharani. He himself gave it to Radharani. And then none of the other gopis could complain because it was Balramji. Dauji was giving. If Krishna had given to Radharani, there could have been problems. But these are this super beautiful pastimes going on all the time. So thus ends the 34th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Nanda Maharaj Saved and Shankhachuda Slain. So regarding this demon Shankhachuda, I wanted to read about who was this guy. He was also known as Shankasura. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur has said that in his book Shri Chaitanya Shikshamrita, that this killing of this demon represents the desire for name and fame and the association of opposite sex. So this demon represents all this. He has the same story as Jalandhar, who with Tulsi he had liking towards Tulsi in the spiritual world, but in the spiritual world only Krishna is in the center, so he could not. But then I'm trying to get the details here. Actually, it was Sridham. Sridham came as Shankhachuda, or expansion of Sridham, because original Sridham is in the pastimes with Krishna. And that story of Viraja River, I have to get the right story, complete story. I don't want to tell you half things here and there, because it's different. And this Shankhachuda was such a great and very powerful demon. It is said that Kansa had more or less taken over the universe and defeated all these demons. But he had not been able to defeat Shankhachuda. They fought with clubs for 28 days. So Kansa fought with him, broke their clubs. Then Kansa threw Shankhachuda 800 miles into the sky, and Shankha threw Kansa 80,000 miles into the sky. And then they became friends. They said, okay, we cannot defeat each other. They became friends. And it was like every other demon, Keshi and Bakasur and Agasur, everybody was defeated by Krishna. And they became, everybody was defeated by Kansa. And they became friends on the condition that whenever Kansa needs their help, they would come and help him. So Kansa was sending all these different demons to kill Krishna. But Shankhachuda, he just by the stick in the hands of Krishna Balram, he got scared and ran away. And there is in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Prabhupada has written how subtle contaminations may remain in our heart. And Prabhupada compared it to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's cleansing of Gundicha temple. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, if we know, before Rath Yatra, the day before Rath Yatra happens, Chaitanya, because Lord Jagannath goes from Sri Mandir to Gundicha temple, Gundicha Mandir. Gundicha temple is considered non-different from Vrindavan. So, and Sri Mandir is Dwarka. So, all the devotees from Vrindavan want to take Krishna from Dwarka to Vrindavan. And that is Rath Yatra actually. So Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra, they go from Dwarka to Vrindavan, Sri Mandir to Gundicha temple. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he said, tomorrow Lord Jagannath is going to come here and stay here for 9 days. So this temple should be spotlessly clean. So he led his set of devotees and he asked Maharaj Prataprudra to provide 1,000 brooms and buckets of water so that he can clean the temple. So Mahaprabhu himself led the cleansing of the Gundicha temple. First they cleanse outside, then they cleanse inside. And when they were cleaning, first it was with the brooms, they cleansed. And Mahaprabhu, he was motivating and encouraging everybody to perform well. And it is said when they were cleansing, Mahaprabhu kept his group of dirt, the pile of dirt separate. And his pile of dirt was even bigger than everybody's combined pile of dirt. But then he wanted to cleanse it even better. So they started taking their clothes, and with the clothes, upper parts of the clothes, they were cleansing the walls and the floor. Even the subtle dust was getting removed, even the finer dust. And then they lined up, the devotees lined up from Narendra Sarovar to Gundicha temple with the buckets of water, or with the pots of water. They were passing the pots to the next, to the next, to the next. And then the pots were coming in the temple and they were throwing on the ceiling the water, and the water was flowing on the walls and coming down. And that's how they were cleansing the whole temple. And while they were transferring the pots of water, so they were not talking something mundane, anything. What they were saying, if somebody wanted a pot of water, they would say, Hari, Hari. And the other person who was giving the pot of water, he would also say, Hari, Hari. And the Harinam was going on throughout the service. And this is how Mahaprabhu cleansed the whole temple. But the point is, what's the benefit of cleansing the temple of the Lord? It cleanses our heart. So our heart is also like a temple with the Lord. We are calling the Lord to come and sit and stay. But the heart has to be very, very clean, because Lord is not going to come and stay in a dirty place. So our heart, which has so many desires, unwanted desires, and the desires that really cannot be presented before the Lord. They are there. So when we cleanse that temple, Gundicha temple, or the temple where Lord is sitting, then our heart also gets cleansed. So that's why even at our home, our temple should be very, very clean. So our heart gets cleansed. But Prabhupada says, one often thinks of conducting business to improve devotional activity, but the contamination is so strong that it may later develop into misunderstanding, describing as kutinati, or fault finding, and pratisthasa, a desire for name, fame, and for high position. Jiva hinsa, envy of other living entities. Nishita achar, accepting things forbidden in the Shastra. Kam, desire for material gain. And puja, hankering for popularity. The word kutinati means duplicity. As an example of pratisthasa, one may attempt to imitate Srila Haridas Thakur by living in a solitary place. One's real desire may be for name and fame. In other words, one thinks that fools will accept me to be as good as Haridas Thakur just because one lives in a solitary place. So these are all material desires. The neophyte devotee is certain to be attacked by other material desires as well. So gradually one desires to become a reputed devotee or an avatara incarnation. Because if somebody is recognized or as an incarnation, then everybody will come and pay obeisances. Because ultimately, we are part and parcel of Krishna. Krishna is original Supreme Personality of Godhead. He doesn't need to act, he doesn't need to do anything to be Supreme Lord. But he gets all the worship, all the attention. But he is the Supreme Lord. That's why he gets it. But we are part and parcel, so we also want. Sometimes we have the desires deep within our heart. So these are the anarthas. And this desire has to be taken out. So reading this Shankhachuda pastime, the Shrutifal is, it removes. And by this pastime, we should understand, we are not the proprietor, not the controller, not the enjoyer. None of these. We are only servants of Krishna. And Krishna, not only Krishna, servants and servants of Krishna. So with this mentality, when this is ingrained completely into our heart, and this is what Krishna consciousness is, we have to purify our consciousness. We are here to serve. That's all. And then when we read these pastimes or engage in doing the services, especially the cleansing of the temple, it helps in cleansing all these anarthas. And Prabhupada further says, even though all dirty things may be cleansed away, sometimes subtle desires remain in the mind for impersonalism, monism, success, and the four principles of religious activity, dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. So all these are like spots on clean cloth. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also wanted to cleanse all these away. This is very, very difficult. It's in the material world, it's like we do develop these desires. And like somebody once said, we become proud of being humble, or at least it's as a show model humility. We become proud of that. Very, very strong anarthas are there, and they have to be taken away. So another place, that's a pastime, how this guy became Shankhachuda. When Shankhachuda was killed, a brilliant effulgence left the dead body of the demon and remained in the sky for a long time, illuminating the area until it finally entered into the body of Sridham, an intimate friend of Krishna. And Sridham is brother of Radharani. So what is this? Why it happened? So in the spiritual world, Shri, Viraja, and Bhu are three wives of the Lord. Shri Radha is the most dear companion of Lord Krishna. One day, Lord Krishna was enjoying pastimes with Viraja in a secluded forest grove. Viraja was as beautiful as 10 million moons and was very similar to Srimati Radharani. One of Srimati Radharani's associates informed her that Krishna had enjoyed himself with Radha's rival, Viraja. And Sri Radha became unhappy at Viraja's happiness, and jealous anger awoke within her. She got upon a brilliant and wonderful chariot carrying a stick and accompanied by many gopi friends. She rushed to see her beloved Sri Krishna in that kunja. When they arrived at the entrance of the place where Krishna was enjoying with Viraja, they saw Shri Ram was guarding that place. And thus they immediately started rebuking him. And because they were eager to enter the grove, they started hitting Sridham with the sticks. This commotion was so loud that Krishna decided to leave the place immediately. So he left. Viraja, who was still there, was greatly afraid of Sri Radha as she transformed herself into a river that flowed for 80 million miles around Golok as an ocean encircles a continent. Seeing that Krishna had disappeared and Viraja had become a river, Sri Radha went back to her own forest grove. After Radharani left, Krishna returned, transformed Viraja back into a gopi, and again enjoyed a ras dance with her on the shore of the Viraja river. Knowing that Sri Radha was suffering due to his separation, Krishna and Sri Ram went to the forest where she resided. As is usual for Srimati Radharani, when she saw Sri Krishna, she displayed her jealous anger, although he is more dear to her than life itself. She sharply told Krishna to go where his real love, Viraja, was, asked him why he wanted to stay in her forest. Upon hearing her, Lord Krishna returned to Viraja's forest. So these are the pastimes. Krishna and Radharani, they're never separated, but this is to increase her man, anger, and this increases her love for him also. Sridham, however, did not like her speech and angrily defended his dearmost friend by saying that Krishna is the original personality of Godhead, more powerful than the most powerful and can do whatever he likes. Sridham told Radha that she should not criticize Krishna. Srimati Radharani did not appreciate Sridham's comment and said, "Oh, fool, you praise your father and criticize me, your mother? Fool, leave Golok and become a demon." Sridham replied, just befitting the friend of the Lord, and said that although Krishna was kind to her and came to see her, still she was angry and jealous towards him. Therefore, he cursed Radha that she would go to the earth and be separated from him for 100 years. After they cursed each other in this way, they both became anxious and afraid. Krishna appeared on the scene at that very moment and admitted that the curses would be applied, for although he had the power to negate his own words, he could never negate the words of his devotees. Therefore, Sri Radha descended when Krishna appeared on the earth, and Sridham became the demon known as Shankhachuda. Krishna blessed Sridham that he would die by the Lord's hand and he would again attain his original form. So same pastime also happens. Sridham in that pastime becomes Jalandhar. Jalandhar who got married to Tulsi. And then Jalandhar was such a powerful demon, he was killed because Krishna took the form of Jalandhar to be with Tulsi. And Lord Shiva at the battlefield, he killed Jalandhar at that time. And then Tulsi cursed Krishna or Vishnu that you are stone-hearted. You're like a stone. You're like a rock. You become a stone. And that is when Shaligram, Lord took the form of Shaligram. And actually today only this Tulsi Jaldan starts. Today in the temple, we keep Shaligram Shila in the heart of Tulsi, and they do the Jaldan of Shaligram Shila. So Lord said, okay, I'll be rock, but I will not accept, because you're Tulsi, I will not accept anything without your leaves on it. You'll be known as Tulsi, you'll be a wonderful plant and so many benedictions. But anyway, the same pastime happens differently at different times, but always ends up in glorifying both Krishna and Radharani and his devotees. But his pastimes are always sweet. And in fact, the description of the chariot of Radha, here it is not described that much, but other places it is described. The chariot of Radharani when she goes to see Krishna in that forest, where when Krishna was with Viraja river, Gopi or Viraja Gopi, that description of the chariot, it's amazing. Millions of miles long and millions of miles wide, with millions of wheels whole palaces are there on the chariot. Columns are made of emeralds and rubies, and there are gardens, there are bedrooms, and there this room and there, and billions of gopis on that chariot with Radharani go to that forest. It's just mind-boggling, that description of that chariot. But that is spiritual world. We can't even imagine that thing here. So I guess we can stop here. I know we are stopping a little early today, but we just finished the chapter, so we can start the next chapter tomorrow. See anybody has any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, I have a question. Krishna, I forgot what I wanted to ask. अच्छा, नहीं, मेरे को ये पूछना था that Balram ji also has a set of gopis. So and Krishna को तो हम पढ़ ही रहे हैं कि गोपियां हैं, लेकिन ये these gopis are राम जी के टाइम में they were sages. Some of them. Okay. And
yeah.
The set which you were saying, which the books scriptures are mentioning, the set of gopis, ये पिछले जन्म में क्या थी? बलराम जी के पास जो है, they were also sages.
See, not every gopi is that Rishi Chari gopi. So some gopis, Rishi Chari gopis, they performed rishis performed tapasya and then they became gopis. Some gopis came directly from the spiritual world.
Okay.
So like you if you remember, Prabhupada has mentioned, when we are purified, when we are eligible to go back to the spiritual world, then first we go to a universe where the pastimes are happening and we get the training under those associates of Krishna. So the gopis who had come from Golok Vrindavan, they were giving training to these intern gopis, of course. Intern is not a right word because they are very, very advanced from our perspective, but from their perspective, they are interns. So all these gopis had to be purified more. They had to be trained more. So that's why these pastimes happen. Otherwise, Radharani, Lalita, Vishaka, they don't need all these things. Is that okay?
Yeah, okay. Because हम लोगों ने रामायण में पढ़ा ना कि जब वो वन में गए तो बहुत सारे sages they wanted to be with Ram, and Ram has said कि no, I have taken एक पत्नी व्रता, so when I will take this thing avatar as a Krishna, then I will give you my association. So वो ठीक है, राम जी ने उस समय बोला और उन्होंने अपनी बात को रखा, but how come Balram ji also has a set of gopis? So this was my actually, क्योंकि लक्ष्मण थे उस समय साथ में, है ना? तो लक्ष्मण जी के साथ भी she wanted वहाँ पे जो लोग थे they wanted to be with him. It was like
Balram
this.
ji with वो जरूरी नहीं है, that's the only set of gopis. There are others, so many other sets of gopis.
No, the situation was with Balram, Lakshman ji ke saath bhi, it was the same situation.
I haven't read it. I haven't read
I was
that.
on that.
But
I just.
gopis तो और भी हो सकती है ना? सिर्फ वही ऋषि वाली गोपीज ही नहीं ना,
अच्छा,
और भी तो
okay. ठीक है, thank you Prabhuji.
ठीक है. ओके माता, थैंक यू.
And once again, happy Krishna conscious birthday, Prabhuji.
Thank you माता, thank you. Hare Krishna. So you all
Hare
have a
Krishna.
safe and wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Ram.
Hare Krishna.